Hi friends, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. On today's Sunday gear review sponsored by Big Tex, I got something a little bit different to kick off 2023. Big Tex Ordnance is my go-to source for accessories for all your defensive and competition firearms. They have great holsters with accessories for concealment and ship fast at great prices. I'm a proud customer and recommend them without hesitation. A very happy new year to you and yours from me and mine at Active Self-Protection. And you know, we have done a gear review on a piece of physical gear every single week for, I think, 2.5 years now. And boy, we've had fun with that. We're gonna continue to do that. We love the folks at Big Tex Ordnance and what they do. But you know, I was actually inspired by Ike Stevens, who is the founder and co-owner of Big Tex Ordnance, to include in that gear that is more software than hardware. And today, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite books that I read in 2022 in hopes that it helps you kind of maybe pick up a reading habit and maybe kind of engage the software side a little bit more as we think about how to better ourselves as self-defenders. And the book that I want to talk to you about today is The Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. I read this several months ago, and I read a lot on Audible. I wish I had time to just sit and read as much as I would like to in my day-to-day life now. Man, I end up really struggling with that, especially because I work at a computer too much, and by the end of the day, my eyes are tired. But I can listen to books while I'm hiking or driving, and I love Audible. So I listen to The Confidence Gap on Audible. The performance is pretty darn good, and you can adjust the speed to understand it better, so that's why I like it. This book is all about battling the confidence gap, and people feel like, man, I can't be successful until I'm confident, but confidence comes after and not before success. And so how do I bridge that gap? And I think it's a very worthwhile thing to kind of think through. And I see a ton of defensive shooters that struggle in this particular means. Now, Harris uses what's known as acceptance and commitment therapy, or the book is based on acceptance and commitment therapy, which is a known therapeutic regimen that is, it's kind of an offshoot of cognitive behavior therapy for anybody who's kind of in that world of therapeutic input. It is respected from a therapeutic perspective. And of course, so they use it a lot for anxiety, for depression, for obsessive thoughts, and those kinds of things. And of course, if you're struggling with those in any kind of significant way, I would strongly encourage you to go and talk to a therapist about that. This isn't about a replacement for therapeutic input, but he uses ACT, ACT, as the basis for his 10 rules in order to bridge the confidence gap. And I really think they're helpful for a lot of people, and they help me. So I'm gonna give you his 10 rules and just kind of not summarize them all the way through, but just kind of give you an idea of where he's going. And rule number 1 is that the actions of confidence come first and the feelings of confidence come later. So if you're not feeling confident, that's kind of a normal thing, and you've got to do the things so that idea of con fide, that is with faith, that we have faith that we can do well, and that's kind of what confidence is. And the actions of confidence come before the feelings of confidence for most people, and that's good. Of course, a lot of us struggle with fear, so rule number 2 is that confidence is not the absence of fear, it's a transformed relationship with fear. It's understanding that fear is a good and natural response in our body, and he explains that really well and helped me to understand it in a new way. Rule number 3, it really changed kind of a few things about how I think about things, is that he says in rule number 3 that negative thoughts are normal. And not to fight them, but to diffuse them. And I think this particular part of the book was really, really helpful for me. That most self-help books just say, think positive and do, just give positive affirmations. But what the research has found is that when people do that who lack confidence, they actually end up worse than if they hadn't given themselves the positive affirmations to begin with, so they're actually counterproductive. So what he says instead is he gives multiple strategies on how to diffuse thoughts. When he says you get hooked by a negative thought, it's kind of a big theme in the book. You get hooked by negative thoughts. That first of all, there are multiple strategies, and he gives a list of strategies of various kinds in order to diffuse that thought and let you move through it. I think rule number 4 is an interesting one for a lot of people, and that is self-acceptance trumps self-esteem. So it's not thinking I'm great, it's thinking this is who I really am. And I felt like this one was really kind of a reimagining of that Stoic idea of the radical acceptance of reality, that this is who I really am and I accept myself for who I am. And then from there, I can use that as a base camp to build the best version of me that I have. And really his focus here is engagement and presence. It's being engaged in your life as it is right now and being really truly present in the moment, which he's got a lot of exercises and tips for that, which have been really helpful for me. Rule number 5 is hold your values lightly, but pursue them vigorously. And that goes in with rule number 6, is that true success is living by your values. And so those are kind of connected. I love that he says, look, we hold our values kind of lightly. We don't cling to them super tightly, but we pursue our values vigorously. He talks about how to build your value set, and true success being living according to your values. I love the fact that one of the things that really kind of stuck with me in that is that he says nobody lives their values all the time. Everyone's going to have aspirational values, and we're occasionally going to come short of our values, and we have to accept that. That's part of the previous rule, to self-accept and recognize what we're doing, and that's really helpful for me. You've heard rule number 7 on the channel from time to time, and that is to stop obsessing over outcomes and instead get engaged in the process and be process-focused on the things that will help you accomplish the aim rather than on whether you're there or not. In rule number 8, he says, don't fight your fear. Accept it, embrace it, befriend it, and channel it into doing the things that you want to do. So there are steps to that, and he gives multiple steps in it and really kind of walks through practical means in order to do so. Rule 9 is a hard one. He says failure sucks, but if we are willing to learn, it can be a wonderful teacher, and we learn far more from our failures than we do from our successes. And here's how to channel a failure into a bettering of ourselves and into an opportunity to improve, to get better, and to teach us to be ourselves more fully. And of course, you know, he's got multiple steps in that and ways to do it. And so again, I found him super helpful. And number 10, the key to peak performance is total engagement in the task. And if we'll engage in the task and we'll do that according to those 10 rules and we kind of work on each one as we have trouble, then we have the real chance to bridge that confidence gap and be highly successful. Now, it's really funny because I think that this certainly applies in defensive firearms training. And in fact, it applies so much in defensive firearms training that I'm talking with the rest of the staff of the ASP instructor certification about adding this book in for our instructor candidates. So not only do they understand it for themselves, but they can help their students in these tasks and in the ways and the means of doing things and the steps and the exercises and kind of helping students in those environments. But you know, if you're a self-defender and you're struggling with, gosh, should I go to gun school? Or I don't feel very confident in my skills, and every time I step to the line, I end up with negative self-talk, and I'm afraid I will look like a fool in class, or I'm afraid I won't do well if I ever am in a defensive gunfight. Those are the kind of thoughts that, of course, it applies in all these other areas, but certainly applies in the realm of self-defense, in our self-conception and bridging that confidence gap that is my competence up to my life. And so with all that in mind, I really enjoyed this book. I think it has incredible application to defensive firearms use. Pistol, rifle, shotgun, so any physical task. You want to learn to play golf better? I think that the confidence gap will help you learn to play golf better, or learn to play the piano better, or probably be a better spouse or a better parent, or, you know, it's a book for life, right? And I'm into reading good books that help me improve as a human. I think in 2022, I think I read 20. I listened to almost all of those on Audible, almost none of them in print. But I recommend reading books. So I really think that the confidence gap is really worth picking up. You can pick it up on Amazon. Last I looked, for 14 bucks for a print copy. I use Audible, cost me a credit. I've got a subscription to that. So it cost me about the same. I think about 12, 13 bucks for a copy of the book. I think well worth your time. And, you know, I will say Ike outread me. I think he said he read 53 books plus Audible books. So that guy's just an incredible, voracious reader. I just strongly encourage you as well. Hey, for all of your equipment needs, anything defensive related, bid, text, ordnance is the place that I go to. I spend a good bit of money with them every year. And I'm a customer too. And they don't just send me money. I actually use their products and send them money back. So thank you to them for these. I know some people are going to ask about the shirt. This is from Wilderness Tactical. It is their spicy Sonoran shirt, and I love mine. Anyhow, read a book this year. Tell me in the comments, what's the latest book that you've read that has helped you to be a better human or a better shooter? Because I need more suggestions for what I'm going to read. Hope it helps you.